Well, there was a tremendous amount of news over the last 10 days about my second favorite product over at Tesla. And that, of course, is the semi truck, only slightly behind Optimus. So, and there's a guy who actually beat me to the punch on semi truck and started talking about it and talking about it in crazy volumes way before I became slightly less crazy, but still crazier than anybody else. And so we got Brian Wang on here again today. We're going to talk about the semi truck, so what some of these headlines mean, what they might not mean, where are we going from here, how fast are we going to be in business. Brian, thanks for coming on.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Brandy.
You posted, I think, something on nextbigfuture.com the other day about semi-truck. Do you want to give us a little bit of the headline and some of the bullet points on that one?
Yeah, so I went and summarized all of the run on less information. So the run on less is a real world data event where about 10 different trucking fleets and depots. So Pepsi's one of them. There's also a couple of grocery stores. Frito-Lay's in there, UPS is in there, Pure Later's in there. So you have all these EV West, whatever's in there. So you have all these companies that are doing the stuff. So they ran the event, they recorded all the runs, but they didn't.
Let me drop back just a little bit. So Run on Less is an organization that started putting together these events where they invited companies, they invited fleets to come in, not necessarily competing with one another, but rather by recording the data of a couple of weeks worth of them doing runs and recording the data in ways that they would not normally record the data. All of them would learn from the results about how to get more miles out of their diesel trucks. It started out that way. But over the last few years, it's switched now 100% to EVs. And now these companies that Brian just mentioned came together and they did 17, 18 days, 18 days of runs on their normal routes. It wasn't a competition to see who could do the most miles or who could get the most. Well, it would be a competition to see who was getting the most energy, the lowest cost energy per mile. That would certainly be the competition. But anyway, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, so they were doing their routes. So Pepsi's delivering Pepsi, delivering their whatever water products, their energy drinks, whatever they're delivering, right? And they're dropping them off at places. So they're doing that stuff. But they just had some the extra recording devices in there to say, okay, what's my state of charge on this truck? I have 3 trucks. What's their state of charge? When they're charging up, what's going on there? So they're recording some amount of information so that people know what's going on. They did not do payloads, but Pepsi said that they were running over 7% full. So there was that information, but they did not summarize all that stuff. They would go like, okay, I can look at day 1 through day 18, truck 1, truck 2, and you have to like pull up each one. So I went to the trouble of pulling up 18 times 3, 54 times. I went and pulled up the Tesla Pepsi information, put it into a chart to say, okay, overall, they did about 27,600 miles of runs over 18 days. And, how much for each truck in each day. So each day they averaged over 1,500 miles on 3 trucks. So about 511 miles per truck per day. And there were some days where, the trucks weren't running, driver took a vacation, whatever it was, didn't do it, of their operators. And I also compared that to all the others. And pretty much all the others, there was, in terms of semi-trucks, there was eCascadia, which is for Freightliner. There was a Volvo VNR. Only 2 of the Volvo VNRs. One company had both those. And then there was one Nikola semi-truck and one BYD semi-truck. Everything else was, there was some heavy trucks, e-transit, and there was some vans, Motive and stuff like that. Anyway, so I looked at all that stuff. So by my calculations, about all the other trucks, which is like 19, so 22 trucks total, the three Tesla trucks did 27,000 miles total. Everyone else did 36,000
Wow.
miles total, right? So everyone else is averaging about 100 miles or less. The Nikola actually did pretty decently. They had 200, and they had a day where they did 450 miles versus the best Tesla day being 1,076. They had a 450-mile day because everyone else has inferior chargers. They have a supercharger or less at the location. The EV West has a 350 kilowatt charger. The interesting thing was the BYD and the Nikola were at a truck depot that for some reason had no electric state of charging recording information. All they had was total miles per day. So don't know what the charging thing is and what's going on with that one. Why they were the outlier in terms of like, we don't actually give you the information, I'm unclear. The BYD also only ran 2 days. They had one day with 60 miles and then one day with 300 miles. Every other day is sat there parked.
Wow.
So then the website's not the greatest to try and pull stuff up and things aren't pulling up. So it's like, not like, boom, ask for the information and it'll come back a second later. I'm like, waiting like 30 minutes a minute for it. I'm also like restarting the browser and doing stuff in order to get the information out of it. So anyway, so it's clear to me that what does this information mean? It means that Tesla Semi and the Pepsi configuration is the only one that works for regional trucking delivery, where I have, like Pepsi, a charger stuffed in my distribution center where I'm making and bottling my stuff. And then I'm having the truck go off 200 miles, turn around, come back 200 miles, and recharge right here, right? Tesla does have a truck charging system in Bakersfield, in one truck charging thing. So if you're doing your route, if you hit Bakersfield, you can come charge there and turn back around. There may be adapters where you can put in a regular supercharger and plug in, but it would have to be a supercharger where an 18-wheeler could pull up. It can't be a tight supercharger with all those regular car charging things. I have to have some space in the location, right? So Pepsi said that they had up to 520-mile routes, which they could do by doing this round trip and out and back. I did see some slightly slower charging things, so maybe they went to a supercharger and charged up. Unclear as to it, but it would be difficult to get much charging because they weren't stopping there for long periods of time, like some of the other guys were like they're charging for like 8 hours. You can see the charge.
But if you felt comfortable that your range was 500 miles, if you had driven the truck enough to know that, yeah, it's good for 500 miles and your total route was 520, you might pop into that supercharger and get 50, 60 miles just to feel comfortable.
Right. Or if you know that I'm driving with a lighter load this time.
Right.
I'm at instead of full 44,000 pounds, I got 15,000 pounds in there. And I'm going to drive at 52 miles per hour instead of 65. I can't be in a rush because I got to conserve gas. It's just like I'm on the highway, I'm almost running out. I'm not going to be pegging at 80. I got to get like another 30 miles to the next gas station. I'm going to start driving a little bit more.
A gas station? What's that?
Yeah. So anyway, so that's the kind of thing. So for these kind of like 200, 300 mile, 400 mile things, out and back, or 400 miles out, recharge and come back, that is Tesla's alone. Because Tesla can also say they have, 4,000 charging stations, or some 2,000 charging stations, each with an average of like 9 chargers. If they pull 3 of those chargers out and stick in a 750 kilowatt charger, they normally can do 250. They pull 3 of them out and they can do 750 there. Have the cabinets there, and then have 3 parking spaces, one big enough for a truck. They can pop in a semi-truck charging station at each of one of these things. And they're making 100 roughly charging locations a year, building these things out. And every other car maker has said, we're doing your charging. So they're supplying charging for everyone. So basically they said, okay, of our 100, we're going to start making some truck chargers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a chicken egg thing. Currently, they have 70, so they can say, "I will make the truck charger at your company's location."
Yeah.
So I'm popping in a new dedicated supercharger station. So the ability for Tesla to do that is 10 times as much as any other charging company, right?
Yeah.
So their charging dominance translates to
Another.
the other guy needs to be able to make a truck depot. Tesla can make the truck depot. They can make 100 at a time by doubling up their capacity from the other thing. But it's a chicken and egg thing. They have not unleashed mass production of the semi. They're only at like 70. So if they're going to make 50,000 per year, that's the equivalent of 1.5 million cars, or 2 million cars, and it's the equivalent of needing a 1,000 or 5,000 charging stations, right, and connections and stuff like that, and the big ones. So it's a scale of extra infrastructure that if I'm going to do this, I must
have all this ready to go. Yes,
ready to go, right, and roughly in line. And so then there's delays on the utility side to install them and stuff like that. But it's you can do it, like I said, just by swapping out. I would have made 3 regular chargers, and now I'm making a truck charger there in terms of connection. Yeah.
So Elon's apparently, I didn't see the quote, but somebody who I respected told me that this quote came from Elon the other day. That one of the reasons for the delay in the semi was because of delay in batteries. I'm guessing, in fact, I think it was Brian White who said this, and that the battery delay would be 4680 batteries. And that is, we obviously, I think everybody in the community understands or feels anyway, that they are behind in their plan on 4680 batteries. So I can see where the batteries, if that's what Elon says, could be part of the problem. Building out the infrastructure and having that plan in place and ready to go in time could be part of the problem. And then I'm guessing, you and I've speculated on this, as to whether having those 70 out on the road have just taught them a ton over the last 6 months about what they can do, what they can't do, what changes they might still need to make, which would be extremely useful in terms of the final product when they actually start going into a serious production.
Right. So I think it does tell them a whole lot. And it's something where it's their thing to solve. They are, 5 to 10 years ahead of the others on that. Like California had a report that showed that at the end of 2022, there were 5,000 electric trucks in the United States.
In the United States.
In the United States, right. Up at that point, right? So 20 Teslas in that mix, but 5,000 others. But then most of those are electric vans, smaller vehicles, right? They are not mostly semis. Semis only a few hundred out there, right? And the other guys have this issue of scaling up. They're not saying, okay, we're going to get to blah, blah, blah thousands because of this issue of stuff. And they're only being driven 10 times to 20 times less. The purely truck is driving 20 miles. Yeah. The Lion electric car is driving a truck, semi-truck is driving 60 miles. The e-Cascadia usually at 100 miles or less because they're doing these super short roads because they don't trust the whole thing that they're doing, right? So that's so 30% of the overall market is there for 600,000 vehicles to replace because they can give them $70,000 worth of savings every year, $200,000 over 3 years, right? So that's so they need to scale up. It is there for the taking because their vehicle is roughly double the range. It's and the charging solution is 3 times, 5 times better than the competition.
Now, we also had some fairly well-known comedian, stand-up guy, used to have some late-night show. He put together a video for his garage television program, and out of that, I thought the headline should have been saves $200,000 in fuel in 2 years.
3 years.
3 years. Was it 3 years?
Okay. 3 years. Yeah. Yeah. So that was one of the headlines. The other one was it's more of a revolution in
Yes.
cargo transportation than going from rail to truck.
Truck, yes.
Rail to truck, and now going from truck to electric truck is, and specifically the Tesla electric truck. The other guys are not the same truck. They look kind of similar, although the Tesla looks better. But it's, it's like saying that the Nissan Leaf back in the day, 5 years ago, with less than 100-mile range, was somehow the same thing as a 300-mile range Model 3.
Right.
It's that kind of difference.
And he also pointed out that the driving experience was really similar to just driving a car.
Right.
Not only the technical side, but just the feel of driving. You don't have shifting issues. You don't, so much of it becomes easier on the driver while there are still drivers, which I'm sure we'll still have drivers for, another 10 years, 20 years. While you still have drivers, you're looking at a more comfortable ride, right. an easier ride to do. And then sort of maybe in response to all this, we've got Australia and was there one European country that have now changed the rules with regard to how to allow the Tesla Semi to operate in those, at least in Australia. I'd have to double check on that other one. So we have an entire continent that has agreed to let the Tesla Semi, as it is now, operate on their roads.
And also the vehicles, they discussed aspects of safety as well, that they are able to drive at that 65 miles per hour, which reduces the range to 400 miles or 380, but then you're at full speed. So instead of, everyone had the frustration of being stuck behind a 55 mile an hour or 50 mile an hour semi truck, especially on roads where it's like just not split highway, right? Just like one lane, right. And then you're stuck there. And then also it's makes it less safe because you have to like do this extra passing and try and find some way to do it. You're forced into the oncoming traffic lane and make that thing. And then also the turning radius on the Semi was about the same as a Model X or other vehicles, Tesla vehicles. So it's speed's better, brakes are better. The runaway truck thing, because they do regenerative braking, less strain on the brakes. So all the issues of when people going down inclines, they'll see occasionally some turnoff thing for runaway trucks.
Right.
So that goes away as well. So safer for us sharing the highways with these trucks.
Right. Yeah, so good progress. Again, Brian White and I also discussed the Semi just a little bit because of Reno, and Reno not yet breaking ground on their extension where they're supposed to be making these trucks in the future. And so we kind of tossed around the idea that potentially the building they've already been making them in could certainly, get up to maybe 100, 200, 300 a month while they're getting ready to move over to the new building.
I was confused about that because I saw diagrams that said that the Giga Nevada building was only half full, that they had a lot of space for a 4680 battery factory, which it would be size of a Target, so very tiny aspect of the Giga Nevada, and then also enough to make semi trucks there. Oh, wow. So I was under the impression they could just build within that. But if people are going there to look at it, even if they're building inside, there would be outside activity that you see equipment and stuff being delivered, and our community would say, "Hey, look, blah 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 being delivered," right? So that hasn't happened yet.
Well, there is a drone operator now that does do some drone work up there, and they did see some construction engineering types, some planning types that were standing outside the building and pointing. But anyway,
right. I don't think they're necessarily waiting for 4680s, because I thought all these initial semis were using 2170s.
So that was another point that we did discuss, and I think, and we both agreed with you. There's no reason why they're going to wait for the batteries to do this. And right now, there is a worldwide glut of electric vehicle type batteries. So much so that the price has dropped by 33%. And there's real concern on some of these guys in terms of where are they going to get rid of the batteries they've got, much less the ramp that they're in the middle of to make even more. So yeah, I know Elon said that the semi has been partially curtailed because of a battery issue, but I'd love to hear more about that. Maybe the earnings call will be a good time to ask that question.
Well, I could see, if you need to make more, Model Ys, Model 3s, Cybertrucks, that you were divert supply to that, because they said, battery issues were alleviated for a period of time, but then you still have other growth. So it didn't say like, battery issues are relieved for 3 years, including Cybertruck ramp, including semi ramp, including all this stuff. They didn't say all that, and they haven't updated that, right? So they could like relieve for a while, unrelieved, relieve for a while, unrelieved. Although he said,
but this was LG like 2 days ago, saying that there's a worldwide glut. 2 days, okay,
right. So then, it being a glut, then Tesla should be soaking that up and making vehicles. So
hard call. I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
Brian, perfect. Absolutely exactly what I was hoping for. Hopefully it was useful and helpful to all of you out there, because we want our either 1 million Randy or 4 million Brian semi trucks being produced by Tesla every darn year. And my date would be 2030. Brian, when do you want your 4 million to be produced by?
4 million is probably like 2035, 2040. Depends how quickly they can get the a million Tesla bots helping to make them.
There you go. All right. That's a perfect answer. Thanks, Brian, for being on. Be sure and go see his nextbigfuture.com blog. If you haven't done that already, I don't even know what's keeping you, because you would have already known everything we just talked about. Okay, well, I want you to come to the channel too. I don't know, Brian. We're competitors.
No. We gave you fresh information here too.
All right, good. Thanks, Brian. And to all of you out there, it has been great talking to you. If you don't mind, I do want to pitch my little device here. I have these little devices for $25. You can't believe how cool this is. Look at how thick the stainless. I mean, holy mackerel! It comes in a camo as well. It's a can opener. I mean, I'm sorry, not a can opener, a bottle opener. So you got your bottle opener here too, and it's got a magnet on the back, so you can slap it up on your fridge. I mean, is this good or what? So anyway, you just send $25 to my PayPal account. It's down in the information below. Just click on there. You can send it 20. Now, if you're out of the country, I got to charge you an extra $20 for freight. So, or if you join my Patreon, I'll give you one at the $10 level. I'll give you one for free.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.